Cafe, where ideas take shape, but find out when every conversation explores beyond the thinking, beyond the obvious. And today I have my special guest. She's the founder of Podcast Profits Unleashed, a podcast launch strategies and network owner helping coaches launch shows and turn guest appearances into high ROI client attraction tools rather than Miss Karen Roberts.
Hi there, Daniel.
Welcome once again, Miss Karen on Abstract Cafe. And can you please introduce more about yourself that I missed?
Oh, well, thank you for having me, Daniel. I'm still in awe of the amount of podcasts that you host. That is pretty phenomenal because, you know, you are way ahead of the majority because the stats don't lie. 90% of podcasters don't make it past 3 episodes. And out of the 10% that do, 90% don't make it past 20. And then we have you, that is the host of what, 16? Wasn't it
16 podcasts? Now 17. I have 3.101 that I launched the other day. So
I mean, that is phenomenal. And that should really be inspiration for everybody else out there that, you know, when you get into the swing of this can really, really work for you. So, yeah, what we do, I love everything about podcasting. Yeah, I have my own podcast network, and I just always wanted to help people get their message out there to those who need to hear it, basically. And I think the power of podcasting is phenomenal. So if anybody wants to launch one, we help with the launching. We do all the podcast production because we get it. It you know, even though there are all these great tools like we're using Riverside here. I mean, I just use Zoom for mine and then use other services to deal with it. There's so much out there that can make your life easy. But again, not enough people understand it or know what they need to do to make a successful podcast. And then not everybody wants to host, so we also help people who want to guest on podcasts, and then how to do that's going to make it, you know, at the end of the day, this is an opportunity to get in front of a large audience for free.
Yes,
pretty much. But unfortunately, again, most people do they go for just the numbers. Again, they're chasing ego metrics rather than alignment. You know, what podcast is in alignment with you, somebody who already has your audience, then you show up and serve, and then think about what to guide people to at the end of the podcast. So we cover both areas, hosting and guesting.
And thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world, Miss Karen. Thank you. Let's empower podcasting all over the world. So today let's talk about stop the one and done content repurposing secrets for coaches. So tell us, let's start with the core problem. Why so many coaches and experts fall into the exhausting trap of constantly chasing one and done content creation? What is the underlying mindset or fear that fuel this?
Well, it's a tricky one. And I don't want to, let's say they don't do it deliberately. You know, we're all busy, right?
Yes.
So any guests that come on your show, they're busy. They've got their business that they're dealing with every day. And a lot of people, they realize that podcasting could be a good way to get in front of a new audience. And they take all the time in maybe researching the podcast and then pitching. And I know we both use Podmatch. Alexander Filippo, what a phenomenal service. It's basically a dating app for podcast guests and hosts. So that does make it easier to research, right? But then I think what happens, they get excited, they go on the show, and then crickets. And they miss out on the biggest opportunity. It's like not about the recording. And so, they might hear that, okay, the episode is aired, and so they post it once. Well, that's not really going to help you or the host. And I think people are missing out on a massive opportunity, because the way I see it is, when you're guesting, like you, Daniel, you have offered me this platform to open up to your audience. I should be grateful to you, right? This is an opportunity to get in front of your audience. And unfortunately, people don't see the host as being anything important. And the way I see it is the host is the key to everything that could potentially come next. Right. So when we change our perspective and stop the one and done, things can change. I'm ever so sorry. I can't believe we're live. Alexa decided to get involved. Alexa, off. That's hilarious. I don't know where she heard anything, me mentioning that. However, so, you've got to think about it more, and you've got to be strategic. Right. Let's face it. What do we do on social media? I don't know about you, but I scroll. People,
Scrolling.
You scroll. Everyone's fighting for attention on social media. And, if you have, I don't know what I've got on Facebook, say, I don't know, about 6,000 people on there. Just because I post once, do you think all 6,000 people saw that post? No, not at all. Not at all. We all know that the algorithm of the different social media platforms only show it to a small selection. So you need to do more than one post for any opportunity for your followers to actually see what it is you've done. And I think a lot of people get fearful of, if I post too often about this one thing, I'm going to annoy. No, they're not going to see it. They're not going to see it, because that's the way these social media platforms have been set up, the algorithms. So the way I see it is, have a plan. Have a specific plan. It's not just about you showing up and recording the podcast. It's what comes after. So instead of the one and done, what you can do is first email your list. People who already know you, let them know that, I had a great conversation today with Daniel Lucas, and, let them know that it's coming. So preempt it. Then once it's aired, as we know, it can go on not just one platform. It doesn't just go on Apple. It can go on Spotify. There's so many podcast platforms out there. Maybe the video goes on YouTube. So all these different things, you've got all this content ready that can just be repurposed very, very easily. And with the rise of AI, it's made it even easier, which is why I've asked you, give me the transcription of this podcast, because what we'll do is we'll turn that transcription using some of these tools into social media posts, into a blog post, so I can put it on my website. Now, what that does for you, Daniel, is I'll put a blog post on my website, embed your podcast, so that increases your downloads, but also I have a link on there that's directing to you. That's called a backlink. And for people who don't know, Google will trust you more the more backlinks you have. And please don't go out there and buy them, because they can tell. This will be an organic, natural backlink that's pointing to your website. If you have a blog and you have the blog post, that's pointing to my website. It's a win-win. And that's what I think people are missing when they guest on podcasts. They see it purely as an opportunity to get on the host stage, and they don't see it as the win-win that it should be. Again, I'm still in awe. 16 podcasts, this costs you money. It doesn't cost you just in money. It costs you time to prepare for the podcast, to put the podcast on, to host 16 podcasts. It's a lot for you. So really, it's my duty to help in as many ways as possible as I can to help promote you, Daniel. And I think so many people have it the other way round, that they just come on and they want to just use it as a stage. I want to borrow that person's stage, and I'm not going to give any thought to the actual host that is doing it. Does that make sense?
Makes sense. Makes sense, Miss Karen. So beyond just saving time, what are the deeper strategic or relational benefits of repurposing content for coaching audience?
Well, going back to the fact that we've got all these different social media platforms, and some coaches, they might be bigger on Instagram, others LinkedIn is their place. So why not? At the end of the day, if you've already got your audience, Daniel, right? But I want to help you grow the audience. So if I utilize all my social media platforms and maybe put an image on Instagram or a reel, and then I put maybe the blog post or the YouTube video on Facebook, using all the different platforms, the goal is to introduce new people, but I'm driving them all to your podcast. So again, it's all about the win-win. It's not just you as the guest, it's about the host too. So the more we can promote it on all the different platforms in different ways, because some people, yes, they're already listening, they're already your podcast listeners, great. But there are other people that maybe like to watch the video. So the YouTube video would be great and they'll subscribe. And then others might prefer to read. At the end of the day, there are, apparently, right? This is according to stats sort of pretty recently, is that the most trusted content creators are podcasters. Now, I feel that is because, we show up, right? Well, I show up once a week. You show up 16 to 17 times a week. So the trust is even more so in your case. But, even in my case, I've hosted over 400 podcast episodes between my podcast and the Icons of Real Estate. So I think I've built that trust factor because I show up. Now, the second most trusted content creators out there are blogs, and people forget that side of it. They think that's been done, that's over. No, it's not. In fact, a lot of probably your higher quality potential clients will come from blogs, which is why I say it's really important. At the end of the day, you've done the work. You've created the content by being on the show. Now, utilize that content and turn it into all these different things, the video format, the audio format, the written format, to potentially get out to everybody. So having that combination and posting on all the different social media platforms, the goal is really to grow your listenership, right? But they're doing it through listening to my episode. So it's for you, but also as well for me. So again, it's going back to the win-win between the host and the guest.
Interesting and empowering answer, Miss Karen. And let's talk the strategy and audience-centric systems. The key to repurposing is not just chopping things up. It's about adapting the core of idea for different contexts. What is your framework for identifying the evergreen core message with a piece of content that's worth repurposing?
So again, this goes back to, when you think, why are you guesting on podcasts in the beginning, right? It's not about you. It's not just about the host. It's about the listeners. So when you think of it from when you show up to serve the listeners, then when you're repurposing it, you've got to think of it from that point of view as well. Again, it's I don't know about you, but what I have found when people guest on my podcast is, in the beginning, they give me this long, winding bio that's all about them and their achievements. We both know, right? The listeners don't care. The
Yes.
listeners care about what's in it for them. So when we lead from, oh, okay, well, what do they want to hear? Then we can, when we're doing the repurposing, and again, look, it sounds complicated, but there is lots of AI tools that can help you pull the most potentially viral parts of the podcast, so that there are lots of tools that can do that. But if you're doing it yourself, you've got to think of, well, what are the top tips, or where did I show up and serve in the best way? What do people need to hear? And then you pull that part, and you can go from 25 seconds to a couple of minutes from this, and then you always lead back to the whole podcast episode, because that way, at the end of the day, they'll have in the show notes, it'll have the host's details, it'll have the guest's details. So anything that you're driving them to will be through the podcast. So if you see the podcast as the front of the funnel, if you like, for everything you do when you're creating the snippets or the short reels, you're pulling the most important parts that the listener will be interested in, so that it encourages them to go and listen to the whole episode.
Yes, definitely the whole episode, and you for sure you will gain more and more downloads. Different platforms serve different needs. How should a coach strategically repurpose a single live workshop or talk into the snippets for LinkedIn, Reels, TikTok, or email nurture sequence?
Well, there you go. There's, depending on, every coach is going to be different, and not all coaches are going to focus on all the social media platforms. So I think it's important to, number one, ask the host, what platforms do they use, and make sure that you're connected with them. Because again, what people miss out on is, when you do add a post on Instagram about that episode, tag the host, right? Because then you're going to be seen on their platforms too, and vice versa, right? When the host, as a host myself, when we post, I'll make sure that I'm connected with the guest on, whether it's LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, doesn't matter. Because then when you tag them, it's gonna be posted onto their audience too. And on Instagram, it goes a little bit another stage further, and you invite them to be a collaborator. I don't know. Is there a top platform? I think it's whatever you use. We pretty much use everyone, and they do have slightly different styles. So we might use different things for different platforms, obviously. So for some, TikTok really is the one. For others, it's Insta. For me personally, it's LinkedIn, because I'm a B2B business. So that makes more sense for me. But this is why I believe is, take the transcription from each episode, and because it doesn't have to take you long. Again, there's lots of tools that you can use to do this, or even write your own custom trained ChatGPT to create it all for you, and have posts specifically aimed at X, because that's going to be slightly different. Ones that are going to be specifically aimed at Instagram, but you need to create the images for it or the reels for it. Another one for TikTok, another one for LinkedIn, and then obviously add it to your email list. You can, depending on, everyone's different. Some people use WordPress as a website. We personally use Go High Level because it's so easy. You can create a weekly newsletter and pull your blog post, which is, at the end of the day, is my episodes or my guest appearances, both, right? So whatever I've put on there every week, that's going to be sent out to my list. So I don't think there's one particular thing you should focus on. It should be whatever you use now, focusing on that. But ideally, at the end of the day, do it all, omnipresence. Get absolutely everywhere.
Yes, everywhere if you can. Why
If you
not?
can.
So the promise is to stop the burnout cycle. When a smart repurposing system is in place, what does a realistic, sustainable content calendar look like for a solo coach?
Again, I think it's personal, and I get it. It does depend on, if the coach has a VA, if they're doing it all themselves. So I understand that. I mean, for us, because we use the AI tools to help us do this, we don't do this by hand, I'll admit. Um, we personally, so if I do a weekly show and then I try to guest on a show once a week. So we will post every day for the week something, whether it's the audio version, whether it's the YouTube video, whether it's the blog post, whether it's we pull a quote from that particular episode and just create in Canva and do that. And then we create 5 reels per episode. So we are posting, 2 to 4 times every single day. Now that might seem a lot for some coaches. Again, because we use tools and systems, my VA can very easily turn my transcription from my episode and my transcription from a guest appearance very easily, because I've created a custom trained ChatGPT that I upload the transcription, boom, there it is. I've created a blog post for me, a blog post for my guest, social media posts for me, social media posts for my guests. Everything has been done. So then it's easy, because we use Go High Level, my VA can very easily schedule a post daily and a reel daily, and then set it and forget it. So again, it depends where you're at and what stage of your journey you're on. If you're just starting out, that might seem totally overwhelming because you don't have the systems in place. What I'm recommending there is for the coach that's, it's a little bit more ahead, that has some kind of platform that they can automate the process, like Go High Level. I'm not an affiliate for Go High Level. It's just the program that I use. There are others out there, right, that can make this easy. And then again, not just do that first week, revisit it maybe a month later and do a few days of posting, and then again 3 months later, because at the end of the day, the podcasts are evergreen, so you can revisit it. But I get it, when you're doing it manually, that might sound like a lot, but if you are using some of these AI tools, I mean, you've got Opus Clip, I mean, we use Descript, there's CapCut, I mean, there's so many. I think Riverside can do it for you, can't it? So once you've got all this stuff, then you can schedule in to whatever platform you use to schedule your posts, and do it for a week, and then schedule again for a month's time, and schedule out for 3 months. So it's set and forget. That would be my recommendation.
Thank you for that recommendation, Miss Karen. But before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, people. My other podcast, because my abstract essay is already in 5th season, and abstract poetry in 3rd season, my book 101 review in 6th season, and comedy 101 in its 3rd season, food 101 in 6th season as well, geography 101, love letters, movie 101 review, music 101 in 4th season, science 101, sex 101 in 3rd season, and my baby podcast trivia 101, law 101, motivation 101, entrepreneurship 101, and of course, Bible versus 101. Please listen to them wherever you listen your podcast. So, Miss Karen, final secret. If you could only give one piece of advice to coach droning in content creation, what is the first step to stop the one-in-one madness to start working smarter tomorrow?
Ah, dear, oh dear. My one thing was, look, it's taken you time to prep for it, record it. Now ask for the transcription. Then you can turn it into all the different types of posts that you need. So have a schedule. You can't do this without being organized. What gets measured gets managed. So have, whether you use Google spreadsheets or what's the other one? I'm a Google girl, but have a spreadsheet.
Mm.
Be organized with it. Know when the episode is going to air so that you know what you need to do and when. Because otherwise you're missing out on a massive opportunity. It's not just about you showing up and recording the show and then, forgetting about it, which unfortunately, as a host myself, it happens, right? And I
Totally.
know, again, from a host's perspective, is that hosts know when their guests promote and when they ghost.
If they goes, yes, definitely. But thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom, Miss Karen. And can you please invite our listeners to promote your podcast, your advocacy, or whatever projects that you're doing right now?
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah, I'm the host of Podcast Profits Unleashed podcast. But look, if you've been thinking about guesting on podcasts as a way to grow your business this year, then I do have a special gift for your listeners. Now, normally this is exclusively for paid clients, but for your listeners, you can get access for free to my 4-part mini course, The Podcast Profits Funnel. But there is a caveat to that. You have to complete it in 5 days, do all the short assignments. And if you do, you'll get the reward video that you can't get anywhere else. And it is part of my 5K offer. And that is how to automate your sales. So if you're a coach and you don't want to do sales calls or you don't want to waste your time with no shows, go to podcastprofitsunleashed.com/free.
Slash free, people. Grab it. And I'm launching my new podcast, Miss Karen, Coaching 101. Would you be my regular guest?
Oh,
Let's coach people all over the world through your knowledge and wisdom.
oh, that's amazing. Love to.
Yeah, so Miss Karen, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
But can people see you soon?